throws, swings.
There it is, there it is, get out, get out, all right.
Hit number 4192.
Swing out and miss. And Tom Browning has pitched a perfect game.
And a high fly ball, center field. He hit it a ton. It's gone. And the 2010 Central Division Championship belongs to the Cincinnati Reds. And Homer Bailey has pitched a no-hitter.
You're listening to the Redlegs Radio Report with Jason and Todd on Bowling Green's home of the Reds, ESPN Radio.
It's Saturday morning. It's time to talk a little bit about the Cincinnati Reds right here on the Redlegs Radio Report. My name is Jason Harbison, back from the injured list. Last week, this man had no voice. We had to call in Drew Ross in the last second. But he's back with us, better than ever. Todd Smith, what's up, buddy?
All right. Glad to be back. Yeah, last week it was...
Whole lot of that. Whole lot of that going on with Todd's voice. Yeah, I knew when you texted me that you couldn't actually call because your voice was gone from all of the allergies last week. So
I had nothing. I had to go to the doctor, and it was a whole thing, but feel better now.
Yeah, it doesn't bode well for when you have to get on the air and I guess sound somewhat coherent. Well, I wouldn't say coherent because usually we don't sound that coherent here at all on the air, but talk about the Reds and at least have a voice for that. And I don't mean a voice like figuratively, but I mean an actual voice.
Yeah,
an actual
sound
voice
was an issue last week with my voice.
Todd, I got your voice down.
Nice.
Yeah, that was a good little segue there. That was Tom Hume, of course. It's one of my favorite little clips there from when we had Tom Hume on. That was actually not this past Tom Hume interview, but the interview before that. The first time we had Tom Hume on, we went around the room and we're like, this is Jason again, Tom. Could you tell us what your time with her? And then came around and you said, hey, Tom, this is Todd again. And you're like, Todd, I got your voice down, big guy. You don't have to tell me. So, and you guys have like this really weird kind of like online friendship thing too. I don't know what it is. It's like last week we had Dan Billardello on. So, of course, throughout the week we're tweeting that out there, and it's like, hey, everybody listen to our Dan Billardello. He used to be the catcher for the Reds in the early 80s, and he was the guy that pretty much took over for Johnny Bench when he retired, and tweeted that out there. Tom Hume, unsolicited, said, hey, I'm going to listen. That sounds pretty cool, And I said, and so I tweeted back, I'm like, hey, well, you should call in. I mean, even if you want to just talk to your good buddy Todd. And he's like, Todd big league me, man. What are you talking about? Last time I called, he wouldn't even. So he says, I'm just kidding.
Do I have to?
Yeah, do I have to? Guy's hilarious. The guy's hilarious. So
yeah, he's something.
Yeah, anyway, speaking about Dan Billardello, you can go back and listen to that in podcast form on ESPNradio1027.com. Also, ESPNKY.com, which hopefully you're listening to us there right now if you're not listening on ESPN 1027 FM and also 1450 AM. But Dan Billardello, like I said last week, would still be talking, Todd. It was a good interview. I know you said you went back and listened to it, but it was really good talking to him. He's the manager for the Palm Beach Cardinals and, of course, in the Cardinals organization, and had a lot of good insight about his coaching as well as his playing days for the Reds.
Get him in the Reds organization.
No kidding. We need to get him in there and have something going on with him, because it'd be cool. And, for personal reasons, it'd be cool if he could be back in the Midwest League, because he did coach for the, I think it was the Peoria Chiefs a couple years ago, which are in the Midwest League. So he was coming through Bowling Green. And, not to rewind too much, but when I asked him about it, I said, well, you've been here in Bowling Green. He says, yeah, when I was with Peoria. And he said, the one thing I remembered about Bowling Green, of course, this is such a hot topic issue, is he said even back then when the stadium first opened, they had netting all the way down the foul lines, in a smaller baseball field. And that's obviously a hot topic right now with what happened to the young girl that was hit in the Astros game. So he remembered that. So that was pretty cool. And that's one good thing about the not the Reds. I'm sorry, I'm fumbling around here. But the one good thing about the hot rods, of course, is they've had that for the longest time, and that was one thing that I could say that my wife and I really enjoyed, because, of course, we had a toddler at the time. Hey, we don't have to worry about getting hit with a foul ball, especially in a small stadium like this.
I always had to set out, where there's in the outfield where there's no netting.
yeah, something like that. So who knows? Who knows what's going on with with all the things with Dan Billardello today, but that's just me. So, speaking of good guys to interview, we also have Jackson Stevens coming on today. Of course, he's a pitcher with the Louisville Bats. That'll be on a little bit later on the show. Now, Todd, we did say that we were going to have Alex Blandino on. Now, this is a little insider information. I don't know if this is something that we want to put out there too much, but Alex Blandino, of course, is a second baseman for the Reds. Hasn't played at all this past week. Actually, it's been over a week that he's been in the lineup, not injured, and we were supposed to have him on.
He was a number one draft pick, right?
Yeah, number one draft pick back in 2014 for the Reds.
Played a little last year.
Came up in kind of the late season with the Reds when the Reds were abysmal, and was supposed to be on the show up until yesterday afternoon. Was still corresponding with the Louisville Bats guy about that, and then late last night they said, "Well, he can't come on. He's got other things going on." So I'm not a conspiracy theorist type guy. I watched a lot of X-Files back in the day, but I don't know if that means he's going to be packaged in a trade or something. I don't know. I'm speculating. I don't want to even put it out there, even though I am saying it here on a national radio show.
I would say some trades could be in the works.
Yeah.
We have a lot of middle infielders, so who knows? Could be somebody from the main roster, though, that's going and
bringing him up.
Getting ready to bring him up. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question because with Scooter coming back yesterday, that's a big, big question on that front.
We have a lot of second basemen.
Yeah, we do. It's almost like a couple years ago. I think it was like 2006 when the Reds had like 5 second basemen, and that's when Phillips kind of came into his own there with the Reds and just kind of took it and ran with it, all pun intended. But I don't know. I'm not saying that means anything. I'm not a conspiracy theorist.
I mean, they have 4 second basemen and like 8 people that can play second base. So.
Right. I mean, yeah, and if you count like Farmer and some of those guys that can play like any position, and and technically so can Dietrich as well. There's no reason that we can't have like the depth chart. It's kind of like those depth charts you see on like college football teams. How many quarterbacks you have on the roster. We've got like 8 second basemen on the Reds team.
So anybody needs a second baseman, I guess.
Yeah. So anyway, Jackson Stevens coming on a little bit later. Again, I don't know about the Alex Blandino thing or not. I'm just kind of putting it out there. Probably shouldn't. We're going to lose our affiliate license if I say too much. But the Reds, after a 6-game win streak, go on a losing streak of 4 games. Although they won last night 6-3 versus the wonderful Cubs at home. So the Reds are 37-42, Todd. Back in last place, of course. They were kind of teeter-tottering back and forth with Pittsburgh last week. Of course, the 4-game losing streak doesn't help. They're 5.5 games from first place. Of course, Chicago's in first place, so they can, take some of these games back playing Chicago. Your thoughts on this? We talked a little about the buyers or sellers at the trade deadline.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting.
It really is. And if you look at it,
you can't be a seller if you're 5.5 games out of first place.
No, and this close to the wild card too.
Yeah.
So the second wild card spot. But this homestand, though, of course, versus the Cubs is huge. Then you got the Brewers and the Indians. This is all right before the All-Star break. This is going, everybody is saying, and I heard Thom say this the other day, that it's going to make or break the Reds, their season, really. Because
these 7 games, I mean, you can find yourself in first place probably at the end of them if you play well or close.
Yeah. What are your predictions? I know you and I were kind of texting back and forth with our good buddy Scott yesterday on what the Reds are going to do.
I don't know.
Come trade deadline.
This team, guys, we were talking about it last night. They have an opportunity to step up, prove what they are in the division, and it seems like something knucklehead thing happens. Where there's Garrett last night coming in and walking people, and but Lorenzen comes in and steps up. We need a bunch of guys that have the competitive fire that Lorenzen has, and we may find ourselves, around the division lead.
Yeah, I think that's a good point there, that you look back on their 6-game win streak and you're like, yeah, they're finally clicking. They got the offense going. The offense, which was sputtering most of the season, which was hit or miss, all of a sudden was clicking on all cylinders. They were beating teams in first place, and then they go out to L.A. with the Angels. And the Angels aren't bad, but they're not good either. And, the Reds, they're just not producing, and it's just the little things.
They miss the little things. Moving a runner. Our pitchers go out there and throw 30 pitches in an inning.
Yeah. When
they have stuff that's good enough to get people out, pitch to contact.
Yeah.
Stop throwing 100 pitches for no reason.
Well, that's so true. That's so true because
Malley, I believe it was his last start, had 80 pitches in the 4th inning.
Yeah. Yeah.
Come on.
It's really nuts.
Mahle has good enough stuff to get anybody out.
Mm-hmm.
As long as you don't miss your spots, just throw.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, on the flip side of the coin, you look at what Rourke did out in L.A. this week. The guy only gave up one run. He was just eating innings. He was going out there. His pitch count wasn't necessarily up, but they took him out of the game. And I believe that Garrett came in. Garrett did a good job, kind of kept the game close. It was 1-1. And then in the 8th inning, Iglesias just comes in and lays a golden egg, if you will. Not even a golden egg, but just lays an egg. Ends up losing the game for him. And that's one of those things that's going to hurt the Reds down the stretch. Those games like that where you have a great, solid outing by your starting pitcher with really nothing to show for it. The guy doesn't get the win. He's pretty much the no decision. It's crazy.
I wonder if Garrett, or not Garrett, Iglesias could be a guy that's possibly in a trade package.
Yeah,
because he's not happy, obviously.
Yeah.
And right now, I wouldn't care because he's not getting anybody out, or you can't put him in and trust him to close him down. So, who knows? Somebody may need a closer,
pseudo closer sometimes. But yeah, it's crazy to me to think, and it came out again this week in the media, that he's still not happy the way that he's being used, and it always rears its ugly head every time that they bring him in like maybe the 8th inning or something like that. Maybe there's one out in the 8th. He comes in, pitches, and then also through the 9th, and that's when the wheels fall off. And that's pretty much what happened in this game out in L.A. this week. And he complains about it.
I'm tired of that stuff.
Yeah.
Like I said, and I think when we were texting back and forth, you're making $4.5 million, which granted is not a lot of money for a closer
for baseball,
really,
right?
But you're working 10 minutes 3 or 4 days a week.
Mm-hmm.
Go get some outs.
Yeah.
Concentrate. You got 3 outs to get them. How hard is that? I'm not saying that it's easy to get out major league hitters, but it is for him, and he's paid to do that. So do it. Yeah,
and it's almost like, I don't want to say his stuff is gone, but he's not the Iglesias that we're used to seeing.
It's in his head. You can almost see it while he's standing there.
And I don't know if he's like making excuses for it by, blaming the way that he's being used in games, or, looking for other avenues, or what's going on with that. But something's got the ship's got to be righted on that. And you notice that they didn't have him in the game last night. Of course, it wasn't a safe situation.
I wouldn't have brought him in either.
Yeah.
Lorenzen's out there fired up and throwing smoke. Let him finish it.
I think Lorenzen, he makes a case to be the closer. If he can go in there and produce. Now, granted, I don't know what they're going to do if they kind of put him in that closer role, and they sometimes have him pinch hit, and because of his bat being so well. I don't know if you kind of take him out of the equation for that late inning center field position or whatnot, because we've talked on this show many times about how that's mentally being able to switch gears really mid game. It's like, okay, I got to come out of the bullpen to pitch. Oh yeah, and by the way, I also got to go up and pinch hit.
I know that's I've said it before over and over again. I believe. He would be better served playing a position because he's that good. But, if they're going to use him in the way they're using him now in the bullpen, it would be best if he did not pinch hit, I think. So that's my opinion. What do I know?
I don't know. You got some hot takes already here, Todd.
Todd's hot takes.
No, it's always good. It's always good, though. But, really, back to last night, Gray was on fire last night coming out of the gate. He was getting it done. Breaking ball, way on point. It was amazing what he was making some batters look silly last night. Other than he gave up that big home run, had an outstanding game. That's a quality start for Gray. Ate a lot of innings, went into the 7th, so I don't think you can ask much more.
That's all you can ask for any of these starters, really. Through 5, 6, be a bonus, and the bullpen is so good.
Yeah,
get us there and let them take it home.
Well, you mentioned, too, about Garrett. He was a little off last night, hit a pitcher or hit a batter and did a couple, he
got his head goofed up because of Rizzo.
Yeah, he was thinking back to, the time they had the little shouting match and all that. And you want to talk about, again, the whole mental aspect of baseball. But his name's been in the equation for, some people are saying all over the Twitterverse and wherever else that you read about the Reds, that his name could be in the equation for one of the all-star spots for the Reds, just the way he's been pitching. Sans last night, of course, but
he has those tight numbers.
He really does. And he's one of those guys that I don't want to say is quietly doing it like Iglesias is. The batter Iglesias, Jose Iglesias, not Rossiel. But, he's out there getting it done, not really making a big fuss about it. And, he's kind of one of those under-the-radar guys that could easily sneak up and get one of those reserve spots, if you will, for the All-Star game that's coming up. We'll talk a little more about that, who we think is going to be the All-Star representatives for the Reds, because I'm sure Todd and I could go on, probably do an entire show about, this guy should, this guy shouldn't,
Yeah.
Because it's interesting, especially the way that they have the voting this year, and all the things that are going on with that. So we're going to take a break here on the Redlegs Radio Report. Be sure to stay tuned, because we're going to have Jackson Stevens on, of course, the pitcher with the Louisville Bats, coming up after this right here on ESPN Radio 102.7, ESPNRadio1027.com.
Well, I'll tell you what, I can't wait to catch a bunch of these here fish this afternoon. And I'm pretty sure I won't be getting a call from the lady talking about the air conditioner because it done got her took care of.
Oh, yeah?
Yep, turn to the experts like I always do this time of year.
Right. Who's that?
Well, that'd be Bowling Green Refrigeration, Heating, and Cooling. Yeah. Your comfort is their concern is what they say. Oh, here comes one, boys.
Hold on, let me grab the net.
Earl, is that your phone ringing?
Yeah, it is. Here, take his net. What?
Earl, I need you to get home right now. I am burning up. This air conditioner is out. Get off that boat right now.
All right. Hey, sorry about that, man. The lady is hot. The air conditioner isn't working.
Well, if you don't mind me asking, what's your unit? Is it a carrier?
No, it's not a carrier. It's one of them others.
Doesn't matter if it's a carrier or not. Bowling Green Refrigeration, Heating, and Cooling can service it for you. No, looks like I got me another on the line here now. Between holding this net for my fish and the people calling you about the air conditioner, you ain't even got the case.
Pickled okra. Schedule a pre-summer checkup on your HVAC unit today with Bowling Green Refrigeration, Heating, and Cooling.
This is a Morgan & Morgan consumer message.
I'm John Morgan of Morgan & Morgan. When our clients come to us for representation, I see way more than a client. I see me. When I hear someone has a herniated disc or a back injury, I think, what if that was me? How would that impact my life? I put myself in your shoes and in your life. When I look at your family, I see my family. This outlook makes my firm think differently than most. I understand that some injuries are forever, and forever is a very long time. For 30 years, we've helped hundreds of thousands recover what they deserve. $1 billion last year alone. Every time we hear your stories, we feel like it's us. If you're injured in a car crash, slip and fall, or the victim of medical malpractice, call us because we care. Dial pound law on your cell phone. That's pound 529. Morgan & Morgan, forthepeople.com.
Offices Bowling Green.
Whether you're planning on spending time at the lake, poolside, or at a backyard barbecue, Fire Pit Spirits is your summer headquarters. Get to Fire Pit Spirits for a wide selection of beers, wines, and spirits. Chilled coolers means ice-cold beer. Plus kegs for parties. You can get wines and cheeses to go with them, too. And they even have a drive-thru. Your locally owned premier service liquor store. That is Fire Pit Spirits. Friendly customer service that's second to none with great parking, even if you're towing a boat. Fire Pit Spirits, 1100 Happy Valley Road, Glasgow.
I'm more resourceful than I thought.
My suit can still make an impression. My video games are still game changers.
And my lamp can bring others a bright future.
Because when I donate my stuff to Goodwill,
it helps fund job placement and training for people right in my community.
Now my stuff gets a second chance.
And will give someone in my community
a second chance too.
Goodwill. Donate stuff, create jobs. Find your nearest donation center at goodwill.org. That's goodwill.org. This message brought to you by Goodwill and the Ad Council.
This Cincinnati Reds Hall of Fame moment features an accomplishment that had only been achieved twice previously in the club's history. On September 28, 2012, at PNC Park in Pittsburgh, 26-year-old Homer Bailey would throw a 1-0 no-hitter against the Pirates.
He gets what he wants and he turns it loose. And it's hit in the air, shallow center field. Going back is Phillips, and Homer Bailey has pitched a no-hitter.
Less than a year later, on July 2nd, 2013, this time in front of a home crowd at Great American Ballpark, the 2004 first-round draft pick would do it again.
And now the crescendo of noise really picks up. Doesn't appear to be a person sitting at the moment. Bailey with a 1-ball, 2-strike count. The right-hander kicks and he throws. And here's a ground ball to Todd Frazier. He's up, he's throwing, and Bailey has a no-hitter. Homer Bailey has no-hit the San Francisco Giants, the 16th no-hitter in Cincinnati Reds history. Homer Bailey has thrown the second no-hitter of his major league career. He's done it against the San Francisco Giants on this Tuesday night, July the 2nd, 2013.
Homer Bailey would join Johnny Vandermeer and Jim Maloney as the only pitchers in franchise history to record multiple no-hitters. This Hall of Fame moment is brought to you by the Cincinnati Reds Hall of Fame and Museum, presented by Dinsmore.
Welcome back to the Redlegs Radio Report. Jason Harbison, Todd Smith with you. Beautiful Saturday morning. It's going to be hot. It's going to be muggy here in Bowling Green and surrounding areas.
It's already hot and muggy.
Yeah, it is. Well, luckily, I don't think there's any rain in the forecast because it has just been crazy with this rain. I feel like we're almost in Seattle, or maybe those afternoon showers in Florida that we sometimes get here. It's just crazy. It's been thunderstorming and all that.
Yeah,
but,
10 straight days of rain, not just a sprinkle either.
Mm-hmm. A little Hall of Fame moment there. Of course, talked about Homer Bailey's 2 no-hit games. And Homer, just kind of to circle back here, Homer, of course, is playing for Kansas City right now. ERA is currently 4.61.
Wow, that's pretty good for him.
Yeah, not bad at all. I mean, he's for Homer, the way he was. Regular season, he's got about 80 innings pitched. He's going deeper into games. His last 3 games, he went 5 1/3, 7 1/3, and 6 innings in his last 3 games. Only giving up 1 earned run in his last 3 games. So obviously, his numbers were way higher, and with his last 3 games, only giving up 1 earned run, that number's been down. So starting to turn things around for Homer. So
well, it's been 3 years. Start turning it around 3 years later.
Of course, once you put on a different uniform besides the Reds, that's kind of what happens. Of course, he and Billy Hamilton are both there with Kansas City right now. So, I guess, you got to be proud. I guess you got to kind of be proud of the guy because he came through the Reds organization. So I don't want to wish any ill will on anybody, but of course, it's always weird. I can remember as a kid, you'd see some of these guys that were on the Reds, and they'd be like, "Oh man, gosh, finally we traded him." I remember Encarnacion. Not that long ago, I was like, "Oh my gosh! Finally, we traded." What did he do? He went to Toronto, Seattle,
led the American League in home runs
Cleveland,
for like a decade.
Yeah, just like where was this when he was with the Reds? And it was almost like he was washed up or something. But I can remember growing up in the '80s and just guys that they'd trade, and it'd just be like, "Oh my gosh, look!" I mean, they were washed up, and then all of a sudden it's like, yeah, you put a new uniform on and just kind of have a change of scenery, and those kind of things happen. So
that happens.
That's baseball for you.
Of course, Bailey, I mean, not as the little bit run there, it's not many people have thrown 2 no-hitters for the Reds especially, but...
Right, for any team, let alone
for anybody,
Reds.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, and it's funny, not funny, because I remember when he did that...
It's like within a year, wasn't it? Or close.
Yeah, he was he was actually, I believe, the first pitcher ever to throw, consecutive. It went from one season to the next. It was like late in September when he pitched the first one, and then it was the following year. But he's the first pitcher ever to be the next one up in line, meaning there was no other no-hitters between his last one from the end of September of one year to the next. So it's the first time that anyone has ever done that, essentially not back-to-back no-hitters, because obviously he had more starts between there. Not Johnny Vandermeer like he did for the Reds many years ago, but as far as in all of baseball. So that's an interesting stat, too, as well. But I can remember at the time that happened that a lot of the national media outlets were saying that Homer Bailey was the best 5 ERA pitcher that had 2 no-hitters. And it's true.
Yeah.
It's true. It's and of course last year we would have loved if he had a 5 ERA. That would have been great. We would have kept him around and not packaged him in a deal to go to LA for Puig and Wood and all of those guys. So, but anyway, we, of course, are the Redlegs Radio Report. Don't forget to check out our podcast, which is available on ESPNRadio1027.com and also anywhere that you can subscribe to podcasts like iTunes. You go on there and you just type in Redlegs Radio Report. And our little name comes up there and you click on that and subscribe, and all of our shows come right to your inbox, essentially, there week after week. And our good buddy James Brown puts that up for us every Monday.
Yeah. Then you get to listen to a couple of numbskulls talking about the Reds for an hour.
Right, exactly. Or last week, like I said, Dan Billardella went on and on and on, and Drew and I didn't say much. That was awesome. I like shows like that. I know Todd loves Todd loves shows like
I
that.
could have been. I should have just shown up. I mean, if
we could have told people you were here.
Have to say anything, I would have been good to go.
Maybe you're in the wrong kind of media outlet here, Todd. Maybe you should be on TV where you just kind of go and you sit there on the set. You're kind of like the Ed McMahon and just kind of even in your bad voice last
every
week.
Every now and then.
Yes. You are correct, sir. I just immediately turned into Phil Hartman's version of that. Every reference that we have on the show is pretty much, if anyone is, I don't know, in their 20s, they wouldn't get, because all of the references we're making are essentially from Saturday Night Live from at least 20 years ago on the show.
Or Seinfeld.
Seinfeld's been off the air for 21 years. The last one was in 98. So,
man.
Which is hard to believe.
Wow.
Of course.
But it's never off the air for me.
True. It's always on the air. You can turn on TBS pretty much any time in the afternoon and it's on.
Yeah.
So, and on the weekend they have like those little mini marathons going on. I believe it's also on Hulu. So, yeah, I don't know. Who knows? Yeah.
Well, the jerk store called and they're running out of you.
I have got a soundbite for everything, Todd. Anytime we bring something up, I am ready at the helm here. So
absolutely,
of course. Now, our guest today is Jackson Stephens. Here's some numbers on him. He's at 4.78 ERA. With his last 10 games, he's actually at a 3.93 ERA. We had the chance to talk to him this last Reds Fest, and just a great guy, and really, really grew on us quickly. And you can hear from this interview that we talked to him. We, of course, like everything, Todd, we ended up talking more about football with him, and he knew a lot about Bowling Green. So. And not to spoil this interview, but I think this guy has got a future in broadcasting. So anyway, here's our interview with Jackson Stephens. Jason Harbison, Todd Smith of ESPN Bowling Green, Kentucky, 102.7 FM, 1450 AM. You can listen to us online as well, ESPNKY.com. Again, we're from Bowling Green, Kentucky. The Redlegs Radio Report. On stage with us now, Jackson Stephens. Jackson, how are things going?
It's going good. It's going really good. It's fun being here.
Is this your first?
No.
You've been here.
My third.
Third. Okay. What does Reds Fest mean to you, really?
Well, I mean, it's special because you come back in the middle of your off season, you get to see a bunch of your teammates, and then also you get to meet the fans and spend some time with them because this is their time to meet us and fellowship with us and everything. So it's really fun.
What's your off season been like? Has it just been kind of like a Rocky movie, or is it you're just working out from like the day after the season's over, or what's going on?
Oh no, I took some time off, just did nothing. Went to Gatlinburg for a vacation. Then I'm in Pensacola, so now it's like where I work out and do all my stuff, and then I go get on the golf course by like 1 o'clock every day.
Jackson, is there anything that you're working on in particular on the off season for the upcoming season?
Oh yeah, man. I just want to keep improving. I mean, I need to get better at some stuff. I want to kind of locate the ball a little bit more and be more consistent on the mound and be a guy that they can rely on a little bit. So I'm really trying to push myself towards.
We've asked some of the other guys too. What's it like getting that call, knowing that you've been drafted by a major league team?
It's pretty cool, man. With me, that was a while ago. So that was in 2012. I'm old now, so
not at all. Trust me, you're not old. No.
But no, it was pretty surreal. Like I was the 18th rounder, and it was funny because I sat there and watched some of my buddies go in the first round that I played travel ball with growing up, and then I was watching on the computer some of the guys I played with and everything, and then one of the only commercial breaks they do on like the second or third day or whatever, that's when I got drafted. And so I didn't even get to hear my name called. I just got a phone call. And I was like, oh, what? I got drafted? Oh, okay. So, no, it was pretty cool, man. It was really cool.
So you talked about your being drafted in the 18th round. Do you feel maybe more of a sense of like pulling yourself up by your bootstraps, not being that first round pick? Obviously, you're here today at Reds Fest, so you've obviously, made it and you kind of brought your way through the minor league system. But
right.
Is that something that you kind of feel that you needed to kind of tackle?
I mean, it was, coming into it, I didn't think it was anything like that. But then it kind of was. I understood. I kind of got the fact that what was happening. So, yeah, I guess you had to. But, I mean, I took it day by day. Like, I know if I go out there and compete and I gave it everything I had and kept improving, then there'll be a good chance. So, like, it's just self-confidence and then also going out there and just doing your thing and then also being able to succeed doing it, and that was one thing. And I was blessed enough for them to give me the opportunity to keep doing it, and then sure enough, I just kept going. It got to a point where it didn't matter anymore. So that's all I got on that. So,
Jackson, who was your favorite player growing up, and your favorite team?
All right. So, favorite player growing up would be, since I'm a pitcher, I would say that Roger Clemens was the guy that I watched, and my dad wanted me to watch him and have the kind of mindset going on the mound as Roger did, because that's what he wanted me to kind of be like. Because my dad was a good baseball player growing up, and that's where I learned the game. So I would say Roger Clemens, but my favorite team from being from Alabama, you only hear about the Atlanta Braves. Mm-hmm. Literally, that's all you hear about. So I would say Atlanta Braves, but now I ain't worried about them anymore. So, but yeah, growing up, it was Atlanta and Roger Clemens.
You a big college football fan? You said you're, Alabama. That's obviously big college football.
Obviously, I'm a huge college football fan.
Crimson Tide. So, I mean, did they play today, or they're playing later in the
they play
SEC championship, right?
I don't even know what time it is. So they play at 4.
Okay, you've got an hour yet. We won't keep you up here forever, and so you can go back to the green room and watch it up on the big screen there. So,
yeah, I'm a huge Alabama fan. So yeah, I mean, it's pretty fun to watch on Saturdays what they do, and everything. So yeah, it's a big game.
Yeah,
I mean, playing Georgia again, that was an unreal championship game last year. I was watching it. I was like, oh my gosh, that was pretty surreal. But yeah, they're really good this year.
So if they lose today, should they still be in the playoff?
Absolutely. What do you mean? It's the definition of the college football playoff is the 4 best teams. So if Alabama loses one game like everybody else other than Notre Dame, then or did Notre Dame lose a game? I don't know.
They haven't lost
they're undefeated, right?
Yep.
Them and Clemson, right?
Clemson's undefeated. Yep. Yeah.
Right. So 2 of the teams are going to be one-loss teams. You're going to tell me that Alabama ain't the best one-loss team? Come on. That's ridiculous. So, in my opinion, you gotta put them in, but let's just make it easy and just win the game and not even have to worry about it.
Okay. Well, you have to realize that you're deep in Buckeye country right now too, so you don't want to.
That's fine. I go through this every year here. Okay. I get on this stage and I get asked about Alabama football.
Yeah.
And then everybody's like, this is Buckeye country. I know, I get it. All right, but
we probably shouldn't be dumb enough to ask those questions. Then, is what you're saying?
Yeah. I mean, you can keep asking. I love saying it. I'm an Alabama fan. Roll Tide.
Well, I love that. Really, just in sitting and talking to you here, your personality-wise, I mean, it's just amazing, off the charts here. I love it because I won't name any names or anything like that, but Todd and I, we've been interviewing guys coming up through the minor leagues. They never really, not that you're bucking the system or anything, but they never. A lot of them are just like, I just go out there, day to day, just play for the name on the front of the jersey, not the name on the back and stuff. But I can tell already that you've got a great personality that goes along with you, that's going to take you a long way. Is that something that you've always known that you've had, or are you one of those humble guys you don't realize how cool you are? You're like the cool guy in the room, but don't realize it.
I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say I tell myself that I'm the cool guy in the room, but with me, it's all about having fun. If I can't have fun, then wherever I'm at, it's going to be miserable. So I would hate that. But no, I'm serious. Like when I get on the mound, I try to be the meanest dude on the field. Like I understand that. But I mean, going into it and then having the teammates and being in the locker room and everything, I like to goof around. I know when to be serious. Sometimes I don't because I'm still young. Being in the locker room and, you got veteran guys and stuff. Like, I was in the bullpen, so I had Jared Hughes and David sitting there saying, that's a little too much. But then I'll learn and everything. But most of the time, I try to keep everybody loose. I like to have fun. I like to have that personality. It's just who I am. I don't want to change that. But what they're saying, though, is absolutely true. I mean, you are playing for an organization on the front. You're not playing for yourself on the back.
Right.
If you treat yourself like that every day, then you'll be more successful in life if you do that more often and worrying about yourself. So I feel like that's a big statement. So they're not wrong, but I just like to have fun a little up here. It's always a great time to be up here.
I'd like to rewind a little bit, Jackson. In the beginning of your interview, you said that you were an old man, and then you just got done telling us that you're the younger guy. You're actually only 24, right? Is that correct?
Right.
You're 24? That's not an old guy, trust me.
I know.
Todd's got kids your age.
I know, but it just makes me feel old when I had to go back. It's 2018, about to be 2019, and I'm sitting there going, oh, my gosh. Like yesterday, I felt like I got drafted, and really that was forever ago. Ooh. But, yeah.
What's the funniest thing that's ever happened at a mound meeting with you, whether it's with the catcher, the coach, manager, anything funny ever? Have they ever come out and said anything funny to you that made you laugh, or at least laugh under your breath?
Well, most of the time, I'm going to be completely honest here.
Please do.
If there's a mound visit and someone's coming out to talk to you, you're doing something wrong. Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's nothing good's happening. So, really, you don't want to kind of, like, laugh out there. But I don't know. I mean, Tucker's really good at it, honestly. He tries. He knows when you're kind of, like, hitting that, like, struggle button. He comes out there, time, let's take a breather, try to calm down a little bit. I can't think of anything on the top of my head if he said something that made me think of anything that made me laugh or whatever. But it's more like just calming down and then getting back in the groove and then going, resetting and going. But, I mean, a coach coming out there, that means you need to figure it out really quick.
What do they say, throw strikes?
Right, yeah. Hey, we need to pound the zone here. Oh, yeah, I know. I can't walk this guy. You know what I mean? Like, but, yeah, that's how it is. So, no, I wouldn't say I haven't laughed on the mound before like that. I don't know. That's a tough question. It's a tough question.
I think again, in the few minutes that I've been talking to you here, you've got a career in broadcasting long after your playing career. Now, I will tell you one thing: save your money. But you do have a career in broadcasting. Maybe after this, I don't know if it's maybe being a play-by-play guy up in the booth or something, or maybe having a talk show like Todd and I have. So you've got the charisma, kid. I'm telling you, you've got what it. Would that be something you'd be interested in?
Well, I mean, talk show wise, 100%. I don't know if I could do play-by-play. That's tough. That's a tough little gig. Do y'all do play-by-play?
No, I mean, we do PA. I do PA work. This isn't my show, by the way, but anyway, I do PA work for Western Kentucky University and stuff like that. So it's kind of like that, but it's not really.
Hilltopper?
Yeah, Hilltopper. You're familiar with the Hilltoppers?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's in our backyard, and I do PA for them. Right. So, yeah, but this is your interview, not mine, Jackson. But yeah,
I know, but no, I think that'd be pretty cool to do a talk show, which y'all do like that. That's pretty awesome. I mean, I have Sirius XM in my truck. So, of course, I like to play fantasy football, so I go to the fantasy football channel, and I'm just sitting there going, this is kind of easy. I could talk about this stuff all day. Like, this is an awesome gig. I could do this all day. But, no, that'd be pretty cool. I don't know. I'm just worried about playing baseball right now, though.
Right. Okay, well, once your baseball career is over, remember the two idiots from Bowling Green, Kentucky, ESPN Radio. Look, we'll probably see you in the clubhouse a couple times throughout the year, so remember us. Well, maybe, we'll come calling and we'll give you a weekend gig or something like that.
Absolutely. Okay. Absolutely. Bowling Green, Corvette Museum.
Look at this. It's almost, Corvette,
that's right, eh?
Corvette Museum.
Did y'all fix the sinkhole, though? Okay.
We did.
We got that squared away? Hopefully that doesn't happen again.
Yeah, actually, I think the Corvette Museum made more money off that dumb sinkhole. Yeah, sorry to.
Oh, they did?
Yeah, they filled it back in because there were so many people that wanted to come to see the sinkhole, but that they ended up filling it back in.
No one cared about the cars; they just wanted to see a hole.
No, they just wanted to see the sinkhole. It made national news. The sinkhole made national news. It was like the lead story in Good Morning America that day, wasn't it? Yeah. So, all right.
We have sinkholes where I'm from, so they're not that interesting. You kind of go to it and you go, oh, I want to go down there.
I don't want to fall in that.
It's a big hole. I don't want to kind of go in it.
Ladies and gentlemen, thanks so much, Jackson Stevens, for coming on the show today. Thank you so much, Jackson.
You're
we appreciate
welcome.
it. You got a career in broadcasting, my friend.
Thank you.
Did I just pull the? If I remember back to that interview, Todd, did I just pull the? You got moxie, kid. You're going places. You're going places. I see a career for you. Yeah. I sound like one of those old. What is it? The Bugs Bunny.
You were talking him up.
Yeah, a little like a hype man.
You were a hype man.
the Muggsy kind of like
Jackson Stevens hype man.
We should go up to Louisville and just kind of be like, "Hey, you remember me? I was the guy that told you had a career in this. Once this pitching thing's over, maybe you can go places." Like I'm some 1920s, like I don't know, like those reels that you would see before movies or something, where they would get the news before TV was commonplace. You'd go there and it'd be like, picture it, the year 1922, 23 skidoo. Maybe that's what my career could be in, doing voiceovers like that for Jackson Stevens. And then of course, I like how we just. I was impressed, if I remember correctly, that he knew all about Bowling Green because he asked me, he's like, you guys do play-by-play? And we're like, no, I do some PA for Western Kentucky. He's like, oh, yeah, the Hilltoppers. I'm like, yeah, they're in our backyard. And then he's like, oh, yeah, the Bowling Green, Corvette Museum, sinkhole, Like, this guy knows more about Bowling Green than I do, and I live here. So, that's some good stuff with Jackson Stevens there. So continued success and luck for him. Hopefully he gets up with the Reds, but again, kind of a logjam in that pitching. Whether it's the rotation or even some of the long relief guys. So I don't know. He was actually up last year. He came up last year late in the season, like we were saying earlier. So hopefully when he comes up to stay because he's even though he wasn't a high draft pick, he was one of the highly touted again. If he's good enough to be at Reds Fest and the Reds think that much about him, he's obviously a good player. So.
Well, who knows? With the trade deadline coming up, he could be in the bullpen.
Who knows? And I mean, I'm not saying because we were supposed to have Alex Blandino on today and he hasn't played all last week. I mean, I'm not saying that, but I'm not saying that either. So who knows? If you heard it here you can. But if something does happen, I'll say, oh yeah, totally knew that. Even though I don't. Even though I don't know anything. We're going to take a break here on the Redlegs Radio Report. Coming up, give us a call, 270-782-1945. That's 270-782-1945. Lots more Reds to talk about here on ESPN Radio 102.7 and ESPN Radio 1027.com.
The all-new, greater-than-ever Toyota Corolla is here. Totally redesigned with aggressive styling, advanced connectivity, with standard Entune 3.0 and 8-inch touchscreen and available 169 horsepower. And for the first time ever, Corolla comes in a hybrid at an EPA-estimated 53 mpg city. Plus, Toyota's most advanced safety features and a 2-year no-cost maintenance plan standard. For all Toyota offers, including Corolla, go to buyatoyota.com. Toyota, let's go places.
This is a Morgan & Morgan consumer message.
Every time I drive, I see so many billboards for lawyers and law firms. And many don't even have a name, just a big phone number. And then in tiny words on the very bottom, they have the firm's name. And I always wondered, is their name small because they're a small firm? I'm John Morgan of Morgan & Morgan. When you're injured, you're usually fighting against the other side's insurance company. Geico, Allstate, State Farm. These are big companies that want to pay you as little as possible. But our army of over 400 lawyers and 2,000 case staff, the largest personal injury law firm in the world, has a history and track record of going up against them and winning. When you're injured, size does matter. And you can now reach us by dialing Pound Law on your cell phone. That's pound 529. Pound Law, that's all. Morgan & Morgan, for the people.com.
Offices Bowling Green.
For the 48th year, Kiwanis Club of Bowling Green is hosting Thunderfest at the National Corvette Museum Amphitheater. As Bowling Green's largest and longest running fireworks show, we are thankful for the continued support of our title sponsor, Meyer Corporate. We would also like to thank Flora Templeton Stewart, J.C. Kirby & Sons, and Service One Credit Union for their support this year. My name is Heather Hawkins, and I am honored to be chairing Thunderfest 2019. I'm proud to say all proceeds from this event are distributed to local children's organizations. Thunderfest will be held on Wednesday, July 3rd, with gates opening at 4 p.m. We hope to see you there to kickstart your Independence Day celebrations with us.
Ranger Station, Ranger speaking.
Hi, I'd like to report a bear hug.
Uh-huh, okay.
Well, we were building a bonfire, and I saw some, dry brush and leaves around, so, I said to move the bonfire somewhere else, and out of nowhere, Smokey Bear shows up and hugs me.
So you noticed some wildfire hazards and moved your bonfire to a safer location.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's Smokey, all right. He likes it when people help prevent wildfires. It hits him close to home. Not everybody gets the hug, my friend. So that's pretty special to get a hug from Smokey Bear.
So it was him. Hey, guys, I told you it was Smokey.
Okay, well, congratulations, my friend. And thanks for calling. There are many ways to prevent a wildfire. Learn how you can do your part at SmokeyBear.com.
Only you can prevent wildfires.
Sponsored by the U.S. Forest Service, Ad Council, and your state forester.
This is This Date in Reds Baseball, brought to you by Cincinnati USA Regional Tourism Network.
1936 was the second year of night baseball in the major leagues. Night ball debuted in Cincinnati in 1935, and a year later, Crosley Field was still the only place you could see a night game. It was quite a novelty in those early years, a festive atmosphere at the ballpark. And so on this date, June 29th in 1936, the Reds added a dash of excitement to the proceedings. They put the players in red pants. Now, that might not seem that crazy today, but it caused quite a stir among the crowd that evening as the players came out in their flaming red panties, as one reporter put it. The club wore them for a couple of years and only for night games, and the red panties debuted this June 29th, this date in Reds baseball.
This date in Reds baseball with team historian Greg Rhodes is brought to you by CincinnatiUSA.com, the official travel guide of Cincinnati and Northern Kentucky. CincinnatiUSA.com.
Welcome back to the Redlegs Radio Report. Jason Harbison, Todd Smith. Little fits of the tantrums for you here. Saturday morning, yeah. We'll just let this song play. What do you say, Todd? Just, people tune into...
Works for me.
Yeah, listen to little fits in the tantrums. Yeah. We can't play the whole song or we'll get in trouble, but anyway. Check us out online, ESPNRadio1027.com. Of course, you can get all of our past shows in podcast form. Give us a call, 270-782-1945. Check out our Twitter page at Redlegs Radio Rep. Facebook us at Redlegs Radio Report. Today, going on the bump for both the Cubs and the Reds, Jose Quintana, who's got a 4.50 ERA, and Castillo with a 2.56 ERA. Today at 3:10 Central. That should be a really good game. Would you call that a pitcher's duel, Todd? Or?
Yeah. We got a Castillo start here. Let's not blow it, guys.
Yeah. And by that you mean the offense. Let's give him something out there. Let's get on the board early. And that's how the Reds were winning those games when they went on that 6-game win streak, is they were getting on the board early. And they were doing it really in the first or second inning, and they were getting it done, and really there was less pressure on the starting pitchers.
That goes to, how our guys have a tendency to pick around the plate.
Yeah,
throw a lot of pitches and get in trouble, and if you get a lead early, you can go at them more.
Yeah,
it would certainly help.
Well, and speaking of too, we didn't mention this at the top of the hour, that Disco had a start this week where he tied a club record with 9 straight Ks. That's 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 for the first 3 innings.
6.
Or you're right. Yeah, you're right. I'm sorry. 6. Did I say 9? Yeah.
First
6.
and second inning, he struck out.
First and second inning. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yep. 6 straight Ks, tying a record, only to fall apart by the 3rd inning.
To fall apart magnificently.
Yeah. It's like he went out as a different person.
Yeah, I don't... I was watching it. The ump was squeezing him a little bit in the 3rd inning. But a lot of it was just him losing his concentration. I don't know how you go from what he was doing in the 1st and 2nd inning to giving up. I think he gave up 2 home runs in that inning.
Yeah.
I think one of them is yet to land.
And it was questionable, too. And it was questionable, too, if he was going to get out that inning for somebody that came in there so strong. So that's kind of amazing to see that kind of flipping that switch kind of in the wrong direction. But speaking of pitchers, Alex Wood suffers a setback in rehab and is shut down temporarily with more back soreness. There was some question even last week. It's like, well, who was going to take when Drew was in the studio with me last week? We were saying, well, Alex Wood's going to come in guns a-blazing. Who's going to get that spot in the rotation when it's ready? And there was a question. Well, is Disco? Does Malley? Who are the ones that are going to be either sent to the bullpen, or what's going to happen with that? So I guess that question is going to be answered maybe a little while longer now.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with that. I'm not sure I see him pulling anybody out of the rotation right off the bat.
Yeah.
Throwing him out in long relief and see what happens.
That may be the best thing for him.
If you've got a guy that's having repeated issues and he makes it back, you're going to take him out there and make him throw 5-6 innings. I don't see that. I don't. Unfortunately, it looks like that may not be an issue.
Yeah.
The way things are going. It's all-star break almost.
Yeah. Moving forward, who knows? But another big question too is Phillip Ervin last night. Big home run, some solid hits last night. Is he a guy that you need to get in the game? And I know you've always been an Ervin fan, Todd. Especially there was a lot of question at the beginning of the season. It's like, well, should this guy even be down in Louisville? He should be up playing with the Reds, and that's back when they had the big log jam in the outfield.
Yeah, well, Schebler was hitting 110, and I think he needs to play whether it's with the Reds or someone else.
Yeah,
if he's not in the plans, then trade him somewhere and let him play. I think he's going to be great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's. I think if he gets some at bats, some solid at bats, consistency, the guy's going to produce for you. He's just he's not a flashy player, but he hustles, which is one thing that, of course, Reds fans love, guys that hustle.
Yeah.
And just kind of that blue-collar work ethic that just makes it, last night, he was chasing down some balls in the outfield that were just amazing and, saving some runs here and there throughout the week. So, I don't know. I I think his guys continue to struggle a little bit. Although Puig's a little bit back up. Again, it's not great, but he's hitting 241.
Hey, did you notice last night he actually didn't swing from the heels and he went with a pitch where it was pitched and actually got a base hit?
Yeah.
Funny how that happens.
It's amazing. Yeah, you can get out of the low 200s and get up to the 241 if you do that.
Yeah, I don't know about him. He's him. He's Puig.
That's true. Well, and Dietrich hitting 222, which is funny because even if you're just kind of, I'll be the first to admit that I'm not watching the game, just like glued to the TV. The game's on, things are kind of going on in the background. I probably got my nose in my iPad or whatever. I'm getting up to do this and that. So the game's always on. So if you don't know any better, you would think that Puig was hitting a lot better and Dietrich was hitting a lot better than they are because, again, they're guys that go in, especially Dietrich, are guys that go in when you need them in the clutch and get things done. Maybe not necessarily Puig, but with Iglesias down a little bit, and I say down a little bit, he's at 293 when he was up in the 300s. And, Casale hitting 267 with Tucker going on the injured list right now. Casale's going to be getting all that playing time, and I think this is a time where Casale can really show that he's going to get some consistent at-bats. If he's doing that kind of with part-time, sharing time with Tucker, and Tucker was really, his numbers were really, really low. He was batting 188 at one time. That's how bad he was. But I think with some consistency with Casale, you got guys like Farmer coming off the bench, and of course Iglesias hitting 293, as I said. The Reds can turn this around because there's some hungry guys on that lineup. Irvin, going back to him, hungry guys that want that playing time. And I think if they go out there and produce, it's going to be hard for David Bell to keep them out of the lineup.
Yeah, it's kind of I'm not sure what's going to happen. Obviously, none of us are with, trades or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
They don't need to shake the lineup too much.
No.
Because they're 5.5 games out of first place.
Right.
Which I did not expect.
No.
I mean,
No, none of us did.
I thought they would be 12 out by the All-Star break.
Yeah. Yeah.
But starting pitching's been a lot better than anybody expected. And but the offense still need more consistency and guys to be able to do the fundamental things to win games. How many games have the Reds lost because they couldn't move a runner, because they had a guy that led off with a double and he's still standing at second base at the end of the inning, or even move him to third? In the last week, that's happened 3 or 4 times.
Yeah, easily in the 4-loss, I guess, losing streak, if you will. That's pretty much what happened, with the exception of the game, of course, that Iglesias came in and kind of fell apart. But that's exactly right, Todd.
I'm telling you, if you get a leadoff double and that guy doesn't score, you stink. Really, as a hitter, doing what it takes to win. I don't care who it is. I don't care if it's Votto or whatever, whether he has to bunt, use his little half swing, croquet swing, or whatever that is. Whatever you have to do to get that guy to third base. So, hey, maybe he can score on a wild pitch, and that'll be the run that wins the game.
Yeah, yeah. You can tell that I've missed you, Todd, because you're always bringing the hot takes in here on this stuff. That it's just awesome to hear this. It's a part of the show. Not that Drew and I didn't do a great job last week, but it's so true though.
I get annoyed, and I'm sure I'm not the only one. But little things win World Series.
Yeah, it's little things like that, especially down the stretch. We talked again about how this is going to be a make or break kind of week and a half coming up here, leading into the All-Star break, with them having the Cubs at home, Brewers and Indians. Now, here's another thing. We could probably do an entire show on this as well. How annoyed are you that there are more Cubs fans at Great American Ballpark last night? They showed a couple shots of foul balls going into over by third base. That entire third base side was just full of blue jerseys over there, and it's just annoying. It's like
it's always last night was kind of extreme. There's always a lot of Cubs fans there, but it was nice to give them a loss.
That's true. It's nice to send them home. I thought it was funny. I don't know if it was last year or the year before, but they did this kind of trolling thing on the Great American Ballpark scoreboard. You remember this?
I do.
They would, between innings, they would I don't know that it necessarily made the air, but between innings, they would, do the kind of frame, kind of like how they do those frames with, Kiss Cam or something like that, where they'll take people in the stands and just kind of, put little frames around them and kind of do funny little, Snapchat kind of things. But they would get these younger girls or maybe some people in their 30s, and they would put a frame around them, and they'd say, because they'd be wearing Cubs gear, and they said, lifelong fan since 2016, or picked up this Cubs hat at the Myers on the way in. It was just so awesome. It's like whoever did that and decided to do that there at the Great American Ballpark deserves some kind of an award or trophy. So
yeah, that was pretty funny. I remember that.
Hilarious. Speaking of award or trophy, okay, a couple minutes left in the show here, Todd. Sunday night, of course, is the All-Star Game reserve announcements. All of the starters have pretty much been announced. Who do you think goes for the Reds? Do the Reds get one person? Do they get two people? Is there anyone deserving that needs to go on it? I'm going to go ahead and say
Iglesias.
Iglesias has got to be it. Castillo. I think those are your two guys, right?
Yeah.
I think those two guys right there are who go. There's some. Again, we talked that there's even before last night. Garrett, the numbers he's putting up there, he could be a guy. Again, a little quiet the way he goes about it.
Yeah.
I definitely think no one else is really putting up any serious numbers that can do it. If Dietrich could get in there.
Most of our position players are hitting under 250.
Yeah. There was some question, too, about Dietrich, being in the home run derby and how great that would be, especially going home to Cleveland and,
yeah,
kind of dominating that. But
he's kind of cooled off.
He really has. You want to talk about hot and cold. That guy, he just really, what did I say, he was hitting 222? That's kind of.
Yeah, but when was the last time I'm not sure when the last time he had a hit. Well, I don't remember it.
Yeah. Well, he hasn't been. He still struggles with lefties. Is one of the big things with him. And there for the longest time, Bell wasn't putting him in the lineup if there was a left-handed starter. So hopefully he can turn things around. He's definitely a fire plug in that clubhouse that the fans as well as his teammates love. We talked last week on the show about how he was out kind of doing things in Cincinnati, and he was riding the Ferris wheel, and he was feeding giraffes and seeing the hippo. It's kind of like a Derek Dietrich's day out kind of thing, like Jim Day on his off day. So the Reds do have something coming up. I believe it's on the 5th where they're having like a big concert up there, and they're having like a big kind of brouhaha, if you will. It's is it the 5th? When are they off? Yeah, I think it's the 5th. Yeah, it is the 5th. And they're doing this concert, and they're going to have all the players there, and it's free. Karen Forgas talked about it when we were up at the Reds affiliate meetings this past winter, so that'll be cool. If you get a chance to go up there to do that, that'd be really awesome to kind of see that. And it'll be funny because that's an off day. There's very few off days for the players. I wonder if they, I'm sure it's in their contract, and they told them, well before, it's like, hey, you're going to be at this thing, signing autographs or whatever for kids and all that. I'm sure they're probably going to be like, okay, yeah, here we go.
Can't wait.
I don't know the names of the bands that are playing, but I remember reading that. I remember reading them and thinking, man, these are some pretty big names that are going to be there. And of course, before I said that on air, I probably should have looked it up. But anyway, take my word for it. There's some
Never ask a question you don't know the answer to.
I'm breaking Tim McKinney's rule. It's like, don't start talking about something, idiot, right before the show goes off that you don't know. If you're going to tell people how great it is, you might want to look up who the bands are.
It's amazing how that happens every now and then. I've done it myself.
Well, last week I couldn't think of the guy that I started talking. Of course, they were playing the Brewers up there in Milwaukee, and I couldn't think of Yelich's name. And I'm like, that guy. Luckily Drew was here. I'm like, that guy that's doing really well.
The tall guy that plays right field,
kind of skinny, and he was just beating up on the Reds last night. Old what's his name? He was the MVP last year for Major League Baseball.
Yeah, old Hammerhead over there in right field.
This is going great.
That's what I always do. If I can't remember a name, I just call him Hammerhead.
Hammerhead. Yeah, old Hammerhead over there. That's luckily you can't offend too many people by calling them Hammerhead or anything like that because that's neither here nor there. But anyway, yeah, like we said, a big week for the Reds coming up here, and it'll be interesting to see Sunday night who goes for the Reds. If they get one, if they get two for the All-Star game, who knows about that? And again, back to the traders or sellers, whatever you want, or keepers, if you will, at the trade deadline.
One thing it's hard to think about, what do the Reds need? I sat around the other night and I'm like, okay, what do they need? Mm-hmm. What do you think?
I'm going to say probably, some people could say it would be like a bigger bat in the lineup, but I don't know. They've got the starting pitching.
That would be the only thing.
Yeah.
I couldn't think of anything else. One big guy. But the guy you're talking about is a guy like Christian Yelich.
Yeah.
That you're going to pay a ton of money to. Mm-hmm. And who's going to be getting rid of one of those, anytime soon.
Especially the trade deadline. It's not going to happen.
And, they have a lot of outfielders that should be good. Shebler. I mean, when is he come? Is he going to get his stuff straightened out and come back? You've got Irvin, Winker, Senzel.
Yeah.
What do you do with those guys if you bring them in? So.
Yeah, absolutely. Who knows? Well, we got to shut the show down. Todd, I hate to cut you off there mid conversation, but check us out online, 102.7.com. And tune in next week, same bat time, same bat channel, right here on ESPN 102.7.
This copyrighted broadcast is presented by authority of the Cincinnati Reds.